Morning. So today I'm going to be working on the inside corseted layer of the candy cane dress. So yesterday I was still cutting everything out at the end of the video. So this is my inside. This will be the actual inside of the lining, and this is all the full length pieces, and they're interfaced down to about 1 inch or 2 inches above where the godets are going to start. So that's all my full length pieces. And then I've got the other layer that's going to form the inside of the lining, and they are cut to about 1 inch above where the godets start, and they're completely interfaced. So the next thing I'm going to do is join all the pieces of each layer together except for at the centre back seam. And as I join this layer, I'm going to stitch my hanging ribbons into the side seam. Okay, so this is my short layer with all of the seams sewn except the centre back seam. I'm just going to pop that one to one side for now. And then this is the inside of my lining, and I've got all the seams again except the back seam sewn, and I've stopped where the godets are going to start. And next I've cut all 7 of my godets. Before I cut them I altered my pattern just because we're starting them 1 inch higher up than they were on the toile, and because I just wanted that little extra bit of fullness at the bottom. So next I'm going to sew 6 of these into the bottom of the lining. I'm going to leave the centre back, the 7th one, until we do the back seam up. At the top of the pattern I've just put a little X, and this is where I measured my seam allowance up each side, and this is where the seam allowance kind of meets, and then I've marked that X on the top of all of them, and that's how I'll line it up at the top of the opening. To sew your godet in, so take your fabric with the wrong sides up where the stitching stops for the opening for the godet. Take your godet with the right sides together with your seam allowance there, and match the centre of that X up with the opening there. Then I normally just pop a little pin across the top just to hold that. From there you can put a pin in and just join your edges. So line your edges up. Okay, I'll take that one back out. And then you can stitch your seam allowance starting from the centre of that cross. Make sure you don't get any stitches coming back up there or it won't sit right. So you want to back stitch right up to that centre or just before that centre, and then stitch this seam allowance, and then turn it over and stitch again right up to your stitching line on this seam, but not past it at all, and sew the second side in, and then that will give you a really neat finish on your godet. Sometimes a little bit of pen can just help you see where you're going back to a little bit easier. So this is my favourite error raising pen. This is the Soline brand, and it stays on really well, but it disappears fairly quickly too. I've used some other ones that fade really quickly and you lose your marks really fast, but yeah, this is my favourite brand. So by putting that mark there, it just makes it that little bit easier to see where I'm going back to. So any stitches beyond that can stop it sitting properly. So now I'm just stitching the second side in. I seem to have made my pattern a little bit longer than I needed to, but that doesn't matter because I can even all that up when I do the hem. So this is how it looks on the inside. You can see I've sewn right up to the centre of that X, but without going beyond the stitching in the side seam. And then if we turn it to the right side out, so once that's pressed, you can see that that's going to give us a really neat insert at the top of each godet. So I'm going to go ahead and do 5 more of those. I'm just not going to do the centre back one for now. Okay, so I've got all 6 of those godets in. As you can see, the centre back is still open. Haven't put that one in yet. Next, what I'm going to do is just run some overlocking down each side quickly, just because the dress panels are cut straight, so they're fraying really badly. So I'm only going to do it from sort of just above the join downwards, just to stop them fraying anymore. And this fluff just drives me nuts, so I'd be happy to get rid of that. Okay, so I've overlocked down the sides of each godet, and I've overlocked just down the centre back, just so I don't have to get my overlocker out when I put that last one in and join the back seam up. So I'm going to kind of move out of dressmaking mode and into corset making mode now. So the next thing I'm going to do on this layer and this layer is I'm going to clip all my curves, and then I'm going to top stitch all my seams open. So it's going to end up like that. Oop. Like that, with a line of top stitching just either side of the seam there. I just use my sewing machine foot's got a narrow side on it, so I just use that to gauge the width that I want to stitch. Then once I've stitched them, I'm going to trim all the excess away, just trying to keep this as smooth as possible. And then the last thing after I've done that is I'm just going to turn up, oh, do I need to do that? No, I don't think I do. I was going to turn up the bottom of this, but it might end up, you might see that line through it. I'm just going to leave it like that. So no, I'm not going to do that. And I've changed my mind about how good this interfacing is, because it's coming unstuck all over the place as I move this around. I don't know if the camera is picking that up, but I ironed it on really well and it seemed really firm, but it's just bubbling off in loads of places now. So you can see it. You see it down there? And I've repressed things a couple of times and it's still bubbling off. So I take it back. I don't like this interfacing. It's fine for this, but I'm going to go back to my original one again. Okay, so I'm going to, clip and then top stitch everything open, and I'll stop at the top of the godets for this layer, and then I'm going to give it all a really good press as well. Okay, so this is the single layer of lining. I've put it on inside out, so with the smooth side that will be the inside of the lining on the outside, just so you can sort of see how it looks on the mannequin. Cool. So you can see that where I've just started the godets an inch higher, it's sitting much nicer over the petticoat than the toile did. And then I've got this extra fullness in the bottom because I've made the godets just that little bit wider. In fact, I can probably ping the, I overlap the hoop in the petticoat, but I can probably just bring it out a little bit more. But I'm much happier with how that's sitting. And I've just cut some extra length as well, so I've got lots to hem when it comes to that point. So obviously it's got no boning or anything yet, but you can sort of start to see that I've started sort of creating the corset part of it here. So that's the front. Whoop. And that's the back. So I've got the open seam. We've still got the one more godet to go in the back there. And I've got my hanging loops in the side seams already. I haven't joined the shoulder seam yet either. That'll come later. Then this is my short layer, which I've also top stitched and trim the excess away from. So tomorrow what I'll show you is how I'm going to join these two layers to make the corset inside the lining. So if you imagine this is the other way around, so the smooth finished side is the inside and the seams are on the outside, what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to join both layers together, which is just as I would if I was making a corset. I'm going to join all these together and then stitch my boning channels through them all. And then the boning will come down to where the corset would have stopped before I altered the pattern. So you can use this method if you want to create a corseted dress and have this as your outside layer and do this as full length as your inside layer as well. but this is going to be my lining, and then I'm going to create the sequin layer over the top, so this is hidden underneath it. But I'm really happy with how it's looking. I'm really happy with the shape I've got now. I think it's going to be really gorgeous to exaggerate that shape with the spirals when we get to that point. Cool. So I still haven't decided if I'm going to do the zip or the hooks and eyes in the back yet. I'll decide that tomorrow. But that's me done for today. I'm going to go and edit this video. I'm going to do my best to try and get a video up every day for you. Are you enjoying seeing like the daily progress rather than longer videos, or do you prefer it? I know this is Vlogmas, so I'm sort of using this format of the daily or every couple of day videos because it's Vlogmas. Or do you prefer my usual videos where I do one video that's like a full tutorial and then do the vlogs with the behind the scenes stuff? Because I've got to decide whether I go back to that after December or if I stick with this format. So let me know, comment and let me know what you prefer. Yeah, so I'm going to go and have some dinner and do some editing, and then tomorrow I'll show you how I join and bone these to complete the whole corseted lining for this dress.